guys, today we are stepping into the cutting edge of modern medicine. Yep, we've talked about how medicine manages your pain, but what if you could actually fix it? What if science and hope and innovation could all collide in one place and you could actually not only feel better, but be better? Our guest today is a visionary leader behind BioAccelerator, a global pioneer in regenerative therapies that's changing the way we think about healing. Whether it's orthopedic injuries or autoimmune disorders, chronic pain, you all have some of that. Those neurological conditions, God knows I got that too. Well, their advanced stem cell and their exosome protocols are amazing. They're giving patients new options when conventional medicine has run out of answers. But this isn't just about science in a lab. This is about lives that are being transformed, whether it's professional athletes returning back to peak performance, everyday people like you and me regaining quality of life. We're going to talk about some of these breakthroughs. It's pretty incredible to hear the stories and the science behind it, the challenges that are out there, and then the future of regenerative medicine. And we're going to dig into what it takes to operate on the frontier of an industry that's still defining itself. You're going to want it. You're going to want this. But unfortunately, you're going to find it's very hard to get. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Joining us now is the driving force behind BioAccelerator, Eric Stoffers, to share the journey and the mission and the bold vision for what's next in the future of healing. Welcome to the show, Eric Stoffers. Yeah.
Very nice to be here. Thanks, guys.
Now, why in the world are you in South America?
You know, we were forced to go to South America. I'll tell you that it's become one of the blessings of my life to be here in the sense that I found it to be home part of the year. And that's because, we're in Medellin, Colombia. So, you know, it earned its violent reputation back in the 80s and 90s. And that's quite honestly goes into the story of why we ended up putting our company here in our main clinic. And I can get into that story in just a second. But, you know, South America in general is a beautiful continent, but Colombia in general, and then Medellin, my city, it has perfect weather. I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona. That's where our corporate office is. That's where I founded the company. But anybody that in your audience that might have visited there in the summertime, it's not a good place to be. August, September, July, August, September. So I find myself in Colombia where the temperature is always 78 degrees, and it's beautiful for me.
It is beautiful, and it has become a safe place to go. That's kind of transformed the people think about it from back in the day, and it's not like that anymore. Tell me about BioAccelerator. And you're right, Arizona's like breathing through a hairdryer. It's pretty rough. It's trying to suck through a blowtorch. BioAccelerator, you guys, in a nutshell, correct me if I'm wrong, you are doing stem cell therapies, right? There's been a lot of controversy. I think it's the industry's come a long way. There's a lot of misnomers and a lot of misconceptions about what stem cell therapies are. Tell me about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, your intro was a really good lead-in because there is a little bit of conspiracy behind why it's been held back for so long. But you're right; the pendulum is swinging where we're really starting to see that the evidence is overwhelming. So more Americans are getting access to it. But again, part of your intro is it is still difficult to access. So our company was founded on the premise of helping alleviate suffering and improving the quality of people's lives, doing that through the most advanced cell therapy, not just stem cell. That is our core competency. But as you mentioned, we also do things like exosomes and some other modalities that help support the regenerative medicine. But what I found when I was setting up shop essentially in Scottsdale is that the FDA has very antiquated regulation. And quite frankly, I think they've been compromised in their ability to push through these type of regulations to really help Americans. So that we found out very quickly that we were forced offshore. And that's where we started looking into other countries that had good regulation.
And I've known a lot of people. In fact, I did an event, I'm down here in Houston, Texas. I did an event years ago with Coach Jackie Sherrill. Everybody in Texas knows him, former coach at Texas A&M, and Bob Lilly, former Dallas Cowboy. Stem cell therapy saved Bob Lilly's life. I mean, he's a Dallas Cowboy great, but he was having to go to another country to do that. I think a lot of people look at that and they go, okay, what about this is kind of, something's not right. If you can't do it in America, then why have I got to go to, Mexico or South America? Or why do I have to go to another country to do that? And so Do you find a lot of pushback where people go, well, there must be something weird about this if I can't do it here?
Yeah, there's really two camps. It's almost no middle ground anymore. When I
Hmm.
started the company 10 years ago, there was a lot of middle ground. And what I mean by that is that, there was either naysayers or people that really kind of pushed the boundaries and did their own education. And they didn't just listen to the first opinion of their doctor that might have been a great doctor, but just didn't know anything about stem cell. And the craziest thing is we have these great doctors in the United States that levy their opinion on stem cell when they've never had a stem cell class. They're not an expert in stem cell. They're not a scientist. And they certainly don't know how far the science has progressed because they're too busy becoming experts in their practice. But they will certainly tell their patients that either it's the future of medicine or that it's snake oil and it doesn't work. And they're just wrong. They're flat out wrong. But I guess the point is that it's forced offshore, and the two camps have started kind of merging together where there's no middle ground. So people either look at it and think about what happened during COVID times, and they think about the people that were adamant about forcing a specific treatment on people. And I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but what we have seen is the pendulum shift since then, where people and humans in general, but also most of Americans start thinking, maybe I should get a second opinion. Maybe what I'm hearing on the news or from my celebrity doctor might not be the only thing I should look at. And so I'll do a little research. And once they do that, they find that the best cell therapy is offshore. It just simply is not in America yet.
Yeah, and I think more people now, after coming through the COVID stuff and the conspiracies that turned out to be true, so much of the lies that were peddled out there for big pharma and big medicine, we don't trust those institutions anymore, if we ever did, honestly. We're starting to see, they lied to us about different, whether it was the horse paste or the fenbendazole or all these things that really are miraculous drugs. I mean, ivermectin won a Nobel Prize, and they thought, they ridicule people for doing that. So I think a lot of people's eyes have opened up to some alternatives that are out there, because big pharma, I often say, does not want to get you well. They don't want you dead. They just want you dependent, right? So, if you talk about the neurological conditions, skin treatments, autoimmune disease, orthopedic injuries, athletes, the tail is in the results, right? And people have the testimonials, and there's some big names out there who've gotten treatment with BioAccelerator, and it's amazing how regenerative it is. Talk to me a little bit about some of the results.
Yeah, you started talking about some of the notoriety that came from just the Dallas Cowboys organization. We treat a
Mm-hmm.
ton of Dallas Cowboys and a ton of NFL, and nobody's treated more UFC fighters and every sport, through Olympic gold medalists to skiers to professional skateboarders like Tony Hawk and Danny Way. Those are our patients as well. So when you look at professional athletes, and those it's very nice to have the notoriety from these professional athletes, and we're very, very grateful that they, a lot of times when they're seeing great results and they're either back in the game or getting to that next contract or extending their career or healing from an injury, they're very boisterous about promoting us on their social media. So we're blessed to have them do that. But really, we're focusing on just regular guys like me and you that want to live healthier lives as we get into our advanced years. We want to have a better health span, and that'd be great if it meant extra years at the end too. But those are the people that we focus on. And because of the results, back to your question, because of the great results, and it's not just anecdotal where we're getting testimonials of these professional athletes, we have a real research team, and this is something that really sets us apart. We have a real innovation center and a research team that consistently works with other organizations, stem cell organizations or universities or hospitals or other clinicians. And we're writing, we're publishing in medical journals, and we're writing clinical trials and observational studies. And so we have real world data that we're tracking and able to give but to the entire industry to show that this really does work. And the truth is there's not a debate anymore in the scientific community whether or not stem cells is both safe and effective for many indications. And so we just need to educate the public. And then really we need to educate great doctors that there's not a debate anymore. This is here. Yeah. It's here to stay. And we just have to push through the pharmaceutical companies to stop slowing us down.
And I will say, I'm glad you brought that up, that it's for normal folks. It's for, everybody that's got aging issues. I think you and I talked on the phone. I told you about the torn labrum that I suffered through for 2 years, and, the gout in my ankles, just very, when you get older, things aren't falling off, but they are falling apart. We just start to degenerate a little bit. And I'm not just talking about the being degenerates. Our bodies start to that's that law of entropy, right? That second law of thermodynamics. Things in motion tend to fall apart. But you treat people like a star. You treat people like a celebrity. You roll out, you've got a red carpet service. I mean, people think, do I have to go around the world to do this? No, I mean, a quick plane ride down to Medellin is not hard. It's not a long way away. I mean, people fly further when they go across the country here. So this is something that's not only accessible and available to people, but you treat them like a star. And again, when you look at the patient experiences and the outcomes that are there, you got the ability to track and analyze and validate the outcomes kind of systematically and see this. And the testimonials are great from folks. But you're right. There's no more debate about it. This is something that works. I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, they must be taking aborted babies and getting tissue and all of this. But you guys are using what Wharton's jelly, and you're getting it from umbilical cords. Talk to me a little bit about the process of gaining those stem cells.
Yeah, so that's a lie that's been perpetuated since the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why it started. And what I mean is the embryonic stem cells. No reputable company, certainly not our company, we don't use embryonic stem cells. There's really no reason to do that anymore. That was old, antiquated science. And it was in the research laboratories, and they were getting aborted fetuses to source these embryonic stem cells. So, shame on them. And I understand why that was a concern, but that's been gone. That's been wiped away for 25, almost 30 years now. Mm-hmm. So where we get our stem cells is from an umbilical cord. Now, this is an umbilical cord where we already know the family, both paternal and maternal, and this is a healthy mom and a healthy baby that go home and live healthy lives together. When typically they would just throw that umbilical cord away, and that would be medical waste. But what science has found is that this is the most rich and potent and pure place to find mesenchymal stem cells that help repair damaged tissue and modulate your immune system and all sorts of mechanisms of action that are just so beneficial to the potential cure of disease, not just treating symptoms like pharmaceuticals, but potentially getting to a root cause and systemic, a real cure, almost cure. We never say cure because the science is still pretty young to say that we're going to wipe some of these things off the face of the planet with stem cells, but it's certainly a very effective treatment. Anyway, back to the point is that this is not controversial, and the umbilical cord is the best source of stem cells. What you're seeing in the United States is adipose tissue derived stem cells and bone marrow derived stem cells, and that's all fine and good for very low level treatments, but I wouldn't waste my money on it. It's very invasive. It's very low level science. So this is part of the reason that we're forced offshore is because of the sourcing of stem cell, but there's no controversy.
Yeah. And there used to be. I mean, people would discuss that, and the conspiracy theorists out there, the people in the audience will say, oh, you're going to be drinking adrenochrome or something crazy like that. I mean, this is good science. I mean, this is something that, there's folks out there who are really pursuing health and wellness in the right way. They're doing it in a natural way. When you start talking about regenerative stuff, I do believe that God created us to heal. I believe when we do certain things certain ways and add certain things to our bodies when we can and as we can, we've spent our whole life diminishing our health. I mean, we really have. Our diet is horrible. Our ethic is in terms of our activity is horrible. We've been lied to by the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors. And maybe they didn't know they were even lying to us, but they were. When you're talking about something that's high potency that works, I mean, you have dementia and Alzheimer's that's going through the roof. People with spinal injuries. Our good friend, I heard about you originally through our mutual friend, Chad Robichaud. Chad Robichaud has been a patient. He's received treatment from you guys, and he speaks very highly of you. And Chad, I mean, I trust that guy with my mother and my brother and my kids. I mean, I believe everybody. And what he says to me is gospel, and he sang nothing but praise. And then right on the heels of that, some other people came out and they were like, "Yeah, you gotta know Eric Stoffers and BioAccelerator." So I'm excited about what you guys are doing. And how if a person comes down there and they get the treatment, How long before they start seeing results? How many times should they come? Is there a recommended protocol, or is it person by person, individual basis?
Yeah, it's certainly person by person. We do see some companies out there that are trying to fit things into a little package or, kind of a square box. And that's just
Yeah.
not our approach. We're very personalized and precise. So we start by getting some advanced analytics and really testing and knowing the patient that we're going to see. Of course, it just starts with an easy questionnaire like any other doctor's office. Are you allergic to anything? Tell me about your surgeries, that kind of easy stuff. That's just the first step. We get people into, a lot deeper study so that we can really personalize the protocol. But if I was to put it in general, our biohackers are people that are healthy, that are, generally just out there, in the gym, maybe weekend warriors wanting to do a marathon or something like that, but not professional athletes. Those people are pretty easy to diagnose in the sense that we can just do a large dose systemic IV. We can see them for maybe 1 to 3 days in Medellin. As you mentioned, it's actually pretty easy to get here. It's only 3 hours from Miami, 5 hours from New York, 4 hours from Houston. So most of the country can get here easier than flying all the way across our own country.
Mm-hmm.
But we do like to have people here for a couple of days at least, because we also get into some more advanced therapies, things like ozone therapy. We also do cryotherapy and hyperbaric oxygen and vitamin IVs and all sorts of things to prepare your body and your own stem cells to start proliferating. But yeah, to put it in a square box and say, hey, this is the exact protocol, that's a little bit tougher to do, because we also treat some of the most devastating injuries on the planet, like spinal cord injury. And so those are much harder and more difficult to deal with in the sense that we have very invasive protocols. I have 2 neurosurgeons that are on our team that are some of the best in the world, but that procedure is just a little bit more invasive. So they need to be here with us for 5 or 6 days, and they have to come back multiple times throughout the year. So it really depends on the disease that we're treating.
Yeah, guys that are dealing, like me, some old, 30-year-old sports injuries or things like that, and you're just getting old and you're starting to deteriorate. I mean, those are, I would think, a little bit easier to deal with. You guys have dealt with some pretty incredible stories. I mean, some amazing. I use the word miraculous a little bit loosely, but it is. I mean, it really is in terms of what's been available to us, what's been offered to us on the medical side. And you guys come along. I mean, I've watched this firsthand. Like I said, I've done a number of events with folks who were looking at this from the perspective of how can we get these guys who had a pro career and now they're dying from their injuries and they become new people. And so it's really miraculous. And, to anybody thinks that this is gimmick science or it's something that's hacky, I just remind you, we get told about the counterfeits all the time and we get scared of the counterfeits. Well, the reason there's a counterfeit is because there's also the true thing. And so you got to be careful when you start just lumping it all in the same basket, because you'll throw out the good stuff that's in there as well. You guys, I know, y'all are the industry leaders in all of this. What is the future? I mean, what are you exploring? New treatment areas? How fast is this type of science accelerating in these days?
Yeah, great question. One of the things, not to be too sales oriented, but definitely one of the things that sets us apart, as I mentioned before, is that we invest a lot of time and energy and resources into our innovation. And our innovation center is all those things that I talked about relating to clinical trials and participation in medical journals. But that also helps us advance the science, not just collect data behind the treatments, but also innovate new treatments and new science. So where is it going? I can tell you that we're working on some pretty specific new cell technologies that surpass stem cell in their ability to treat other diseases that stem cell is kind of on the periphery of. There are some longevity treatments that we're starting to put out into the publication world. And I think that that's where it's going. I think that we're going to be even more precise and preventative. I think cell therapy is going to continue to be on the rise. Stem cell is not going anywhere. Stem cell is fantastic for orthopedic issues, for autoimmune disease, for neurological conditions. But we're finding these other cell lines and extracellular vesicles like exosomes and things like mitochondria. And there's just some really interesting technology that's starting to jump out, including CAR T therapy for cancer.
That's amazing. It really is amazing. I'm so impressed with it. I've been a student of it for a while. I've kind of watched the industry evolve a little bit from the periphery, just kind of thrust into it. You know, I've been to several different conventions and I heard about it, and I was like, I'm just blown away by it. So I encourage everybody to check you guys out. It's Bio Accelerator with an X, XCE. We'll put it down in the description. Of course, we'll throw it on the screen as well. But you guys have been doing this for a long time, man. I mean, you got decades of experience, and we've heard Joe Rogan talking about it with different UFC fighters, and just the therapy testimonials on the website are incredible. I'm just sitting over here looking up flights to Medellin, and so how long can I get there from Houston?
Direct flight from Houston.
Direct flight, man. I've been down there. I'm anxious to come back. The last time I was there, it wasn't the greatest spot to be, but I want to come back down. Pretty excited about it. Tell me again, what are the ways people can follow you? Obviously, at ericstoffers.ceo is you on Instagram, and then at BioAccelerator as well on Instagram. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's all right. And, we have every social platform. If you're looking for patient testimonials and who we are as a company, YouTube is a good place to find us. But otherwise, if you have any inquiries, any social channel, but just go to our direct website, bioaccelerator.com, and we can answer a lot of questions there.
It's good, man. All right, Eric, I want to visit with you some more, man. I appreciate connecting with you as our mutual friends have connected us in recent weeks. I'm glad to get you on. And excited about what you're doing. I genuinely, man, as a guy who's at 52 years of age, when things start to feel a little, they're off, I'm excited there's guys like you out there doing this. So keep on bucking the system. Eric Stoffers, everybody, BioAccelerator, check them out. Book your flight down to Colombia. And I'm telling you, it's concierge 5-star service. They take care of you, treat you like a star, but it's for everybody. So Eric, thank you, my friend. Thanks for being on, brother.
We appreciate the time. Thanks.
Accelerator. This is the Chad Prather Show. Make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing. If you know of anyone who is just sort of in that situation where it doesn't seem like anything is getting any better for them physically, BioAccelerator could be, just may very well be a solution and a therapy for them that they need to try out. Check them out at bioaccelerator.com. The website's down in the description. It might be the miracle you're looking for, folks. It might just be that miracle. So in the meantime, I'm booking flights to Medellin. I'm going to Colombia. Y'all can come down there with me. All right. We'll have a party down there in South America. I'm excited about this. All right. I will see you guys later. I love you. God bless you. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.